Okay, so I'm working on the F350 again. This time, it started spraying oil everywhere. And it was really suspicious because it was right near where I was working on the manifold. But now that I've actually gone in here and looked at it, it's actually completely coincidental, but in the exact same place. The oil cooler, just below the manifold, has a pinhole leak. But I'm guessing because it's under pressure, it sprayed oil everywhere. So I got oil on the frame, I got oil on the leaf springs, I got oil back there on the transfer case, I got oil on the plow rig, the wheel well inner got completely covered in oil. The shock, got some wires back here, the steering, man, everything's covered in oil. So I was just in here working on the manifold, right up there, and I thought maybe I had done something where I damaged the oil cooler, but it wasn't. It's actually a rust failure. I put a little bit of JB Weld on it there just to stop it from pouring out, but because it's under pressure, the oil is just spraying absolutely everywhere. So I was poking around YouTube, and I found some people had suggested taking out the radiator coolant lines, which is this metal pipe here. But I found that if I could see the upper oil cooler mount bolt up there and the lower bolt right over there. So if I get like an 18-inch extension, I probably won't need to. I obviously still have to empty out the radiator because there's oil that comes out of the back oil flange. But the yeah, but I might not need to take apart so much of the coolant system in order to take out this oil cooler. It's in such a ridiculous place. I mean, it looks like the other videos take it out from the bottom, but just for perspective here, you have the transfer case on the bottom, and that's like about a foot, and then above the transfer case, it's probably another foot above the frame rail until you get to the oil cooler. So even if you were right jammed up underneath this thing, you still have to reach 2 feet up into the truck to get to this device. It's ridiculously poorly placed. It's ridiculously poorly placed, and I do not thank Ford for putting this here or making it like not stainless or a part that's going to last forever. But it has been 20-something years, so here we go. So I was able to take out the oil cooler, and these bolts over here that are not super accessible, I was able to get through the fender well with a couple of extensions and a universal for one of the bolts and a straight for the other. So it does come out to the rear as one piece, although it takes a little bit of rotation and finagling. So that looked like it worked okay. Of course, in the meantime, it pours every fluid it can in any possible direction, so that's super useful. I guess that's not useful. That's super annoying. So there's 5 bolts total, 2 in the front, 3 in the rear. There's actually one more fitting. Oh God, oil! There's one more. There's one more thing that looks like a bolt, but is not. I don't know. I think it's like an oil drain or something like that. But it's not 10mm. All the bolts that are in this particular that you need to take off, the 5 bolts you have to take off, are all 10mm. And probably, let's see if I can, are 10mm, and they are 10.9 grade bolts. So you don't have to worry about cracking them. I have the rustiest truck of everyone, so I think you'll be all set taking these things out. Oh, one thing that I thought I would show is that I'm using these 18-inch, I think, oil absorbent pads. So when you're messing around with oil, or you're messing around with oil and coolant, or oil and something else at the same time, the oil absorbent pads are kind of interesting because they will absorb the oil, but they will not absorb anything that's water-based. And that does come in useful sometimes. For example, I had this antifreeze, and I had a lot of coolant, and you know, it wasn't that long ago that I put it in, so I think it's kind of silly to just throw it away and buy new stuff. So I was thinking I was just going to put the antifreeze back in. But while I was pulling it out, I got a couple of dabs of oil in here. Can't really see it right now. Here, I'm going to drop some oil in here on purpose. I'm going to take a tiny little bit of oil, like this guy here, and show you, for example, why I like the oil absorbent pads. Oh, geez. Oh, no! So, if you're working on one of these and you get oil in your water, you can take one of these pads, and the pads actually will absorb the oil and not absorb the water. So you can actually take the oil right out of the water. I mean, it seems pretty silly to reuse coolant, especially if it's a little tainted like this, but it does such a good job of just removing the oil. So you just take a little pad and you can just see the water will drip right off and the oil gets sopped right up. So if you're like me and cheap or broke and you have a vehicle that's as old as this, that you hate as much as this, really easy to just suck up the oil and reuse the water. That's your handy tip of the day. Hey, also put a link to these particular pads I got on Amazon, and if you like it, you can go pick up some. Lightly tap off the caps with the rubber mallet. Is not what happened here. So inside this cap, a ton of corrosion, a pretty serious lip here. So this seal did not want to come out of here. So as I knocked this cap off, this O-ring that usually lives here was kind of like going in like this, and then when I got to here, it wouldn't move any further. So what actually ended up happening is I beat on it so savagely that this O-ring started coming out of here a little bit, and I was able to grab onto it with some pliers and like literally like tug this out through the opening. But obviously that's going to need a little bit of work to get that surface to be able to reseal. So this cap didn't want to come off either. If you see there's a hole here, so what I did is I lined up my screwdriver with this hole, and I was able to get in here and kind of pry out this O-ring. And then once you get this thing out, this is the thing that's holding it in, but once this is out, this is going to solve my problem. I don't think I can do this with one hand, but I am going to try. Oops. Nope. Can't be done. Did I deserve that? Seriously? Luckily, I use oil absorbent pads. So, in typical fashion, I was slightly remiss in filming the rest of the installation. Installation was versus disassembly. I know I didn't show much of it. The new oil cooler supplied new O-rings, and I put the old caps on the new cooler. Unfortunately, the caps don't go on very easily. If you have a press, I would absolutely use that because I think you're supposed to, tap them on gently with a mallet, but that does not work. The O-rings are oversized, probably to prevent leaks, and they just don't go on that easily. Luckily, I do have a press. Unfortunately, I
let someone borrow the jack portion of my press, so I ended up using my floor jack and pushing these parts together by jacking them together underneath the frame of the truck. Yay, backyard mechanics! So, if you enjoy my misery as much as I enjoy being miserable, please like, share, and subscribe. See you next time.